Thank you very much. I will join the others by saying thank you, Reverend Jackson, and to all of your team for having us here. I am Rosalind McLymont. I was born in Guyana, came to the United States, and then went, because I'm a Garveyite, went to live in Africa, in Uganda first, and then the Democratic Republic of Congo when it was Zaire. And I met the father of this young man and the father of that young man back in those days. So I really feel old. Long before McKinsey and Price Waterhouse Coopers and The Economist all declared that Africa was rising, in 1973, I was a very young lady. I was teaching in Uganda and I saw Africa rising at that time. There are certain areas of this wonderful evolution in Africa that we really need to be frank about, I think. Youth, for example. It is a young continent. Is the investment in youth there? Youth, I believe, offers an industry. The development of youth, capacity building, looking at their ideas. East Africa, which, forgive me, is my favorite part of the continent. If you look at Kenya and you look at the technology innovation that is coming out of Kenya, and then you go to Ghana, where my ancestors traced their roots, and you look at this, you see the same innovation, awesome innovation, technology that is not just applied to local issues in Africa, local problems, addressing local problems, but which are translated on a global scale. That's why Google is there, and Yahoo, and all of the others. That's why they're investing. Are the African governments investing in the youth and encouraging that kind of technological research and development, and investing in their developments? We have on africastrictlybusiness.com, there is a section called Pharma, for Africa, by Africans, and it lists all of these, we keep updating it, all of the inventions to address local problems that very, very, very young Africans, locally bred sometimes from overseas, but looking at local issues and addressing local problems. It starts there. It starts there at that very, very, very grassroots place. Oh yes, there are big opportunities in the big sectors, in the oil sector, in energy and mining and all of that. But I do believe that when you get to the very, very, very core of what is Africa, which is its people, and then you drill down into that, its youth, I believe the investment in the youth and what they are trying to do, the universities, the condition of the universities, the environment of study and education, those little things that might not seem important, but which are critical in forming the mind of the next leaders of this continent. I believe that investment is still lacking. And so I am very much an advocate of investment in youth, in talking to youth and not seeing them traditionally as individuals who must be seen and not heard. I believe the dialogue between the older generation and the younger generation needs to keep taking place, not just in Africa, but between African Americans, Africans in the diaspora, and Africans on the continent, because the struggles have been the same. And there are lots of lessons to be learned from both sides, I believe. And so the sectors that I look at, certainly entrepreneurship development, capacity building, training in entrepreneurship. How do you go from being someone who takes a packet of cigarettes, you open it up and you sell them one by one by one? How do you take that person from that little micro enterprise to the next step? And then when you get to the middle market, are the banks on your side? Are the banks on your side? What I have seen is that sometimes the banks are there to block entrepreneurship development. They do not want to take the risk. They do not want to take the risk. And even when you come and you show the way they use a model that cannot be applied, I believe, to the entrepreneurial sector in Africa. You cannot take a model that says, oh, you have to show 3 years of this and that and 3 years of tax returns and all this sort of thing. No. Why not try? In addition to that, yes, you have to have standards, but in addition to that, why not look at how go visit that enterprise. Look at how it has progressed over the years. Look at its potential. That's a line item too. The potential, the sector it is in, how it has performed in that sector, what capital it has used to get to where it is. And now it comes to the bank to take it to the next level, and you have all this paperwork, you can't get anything done, you have this usurious interest rates that are being asked, you have to leverage your house, your everything that you have practically, to get a little loan just to take you from one side, from one level to the next level. And that mid-level of entrepreneurship is where the need is, even in this country. And I do not believe that the banks are visionary enough or interested enough in serving the mid-market of entrepreneurial development in Africa. I do not see it yet. I have served 2 terms on the U.S. Export-Import Bank on the advisory, the advisory committee. And one of the tasks that we had, the main task we had was to look at the ways that EXIM can position itself in a more competitive way. And in looking, you're drilling into what EXIM is doing and who, or the companies that get the benefit of EXIM, and the standards that they use in order to give loans and all of that. We made some serious recommendations, and hopefully at some point in the future they will be implemented, because there is a serious lack of access to capital in Africa for the development that we're all talking about, to keep this picture, this beautiful vision that we're seeing, that we're so proud of, to keep it going. If the mid-section of the continent does not have access to capital, and fair access, and on fair terms, I think we're not going to see this development continue. And so, technology, fantastic, because that's where the youth are. The creative industries, that is an industry that we need to follow very carefully. And in terms of copywriting and intellectual property, all that's being taken out of the continent, when young people are investing heavily with their talent and the money that you governments have paid to send them abroad to study, and they go back and they start these industries. Architectural design, graphic artists. You should see some of the stuff that's coming out that they're doing that can compete with any of these organizations, any of these enterprises in media, in graphic arts, in architecture coming out of Africa. Is the investment there? I don't see it. I don't see it. So the creative industries, entertainment, I don't have to tell you about Nollywood. And where did that money come from? It wasn't the government's money. It wasn't overseas investment. But is the government solidly behind the entertainment industry? No. Who's benefiting most from it? Outsiders. And so, research and development, health and wellness, urbanization in Africa is the fastest, I think, in the world. And along with urbanization comes a whole lot of issues. My son, who was born in the Congo, is studying that now. Urban environmental studies, green technologies, agriculture. Within cities, people are planting. You have green walls, you have small gardens, but is the soil being tested for toxicity? Even in the United States, even in New York, some of these gardens that we have, these urban gardens, the soil. When my son goes out to test them, you find that they have these toxins in them. What's happening in Africa? What's happening in the urban centers? And so research and development, urban issues, urban development, environmental studies, health and wellness, along with urbanization comes a whole lot of health challenges. We see the incidence of breast cancer on the rise in Africa, coming with urbanization and the way agricultural, the pesticides that are still being used to move now the produce from the interior to the urban centers. More pesticides, incidence of cancer going up, hypertension, all of these things. And so health and wellness is another industry at the middle-sized level, at the entrepreneurial level, that you can get into. You don't have to be a big corporation to do some of these things. Leadership development, all sorts of areas. I will stop there and we can continue with the discussion. Thank you very much.